Oh no, we're back with the crazy antics in Chainsaw Man. Just when I thought things couldn't get possibly worse, you just love to prove me wrong. First it was ears, now it's mouths. Like, what the hell is actually going on here? You already know that Kobeni's power levels due to her contract with the sloppy top devil is now practically shot. We got Fami, who's gonna have a generational crash out due to this mess. I mean, she was motivated to revive the Chainsaw Devil for the sake of pizza, so my god, she is going to lose it. This is a total disaster. We are not doing fine, and it's probably only going to get worse from here. But before we get into the anarchy that is this chapter, make sure you're subscribed, you've liked the video, and you hit the noti bell so you can help me battle the YouTube devil. It's a different beast. You know, in Chainsaw Man, there's always the question of who is the real villain of the story. In part 1, it was obviously Makima, and the factions she controlled in order to possess Pachita as the Chainsaw Devil. In part 2, however, it's a bit up in the air, because there's several different antagonistic groups that could potentially be the real enemy, ranging from Fami and her villainous appetite, as she contested Nikocado Avocado as a professional mukbanger, except after what's happened in this chapter, it's probably not the case. But even Denji could be the real enemy, as he's slowly possessed by his inner chaos, entrapped and tortured by his trauma, becoming unrecognizable from the individual we all thought we knew at the beginning of the series. But the real villain all along wasn't one person, it's an entire organization, and the group we were actually led to believe was fighting for the greater good and the sake of humanity. And yet, whenever someone brings up the justification that the ends justify the means, or enforcing sacrifices as virtuous motivations for the greater good, you know you're in bad company. Because the real enemy is of course none other than public safety, or as I'm calling them now, public disaster. And tragically, this extends to the Chainsaw Man Prime Minister of Japan, his administration, and everyone in between. So basically, these guys are as bad as it gets. Public safety right now is no different than Makima. In fact, you could argue that they're 100 times worse than Makima. You see, Makima attempted to harness Chainsaw Man's chaos in order to bring about a better world for humanity, which is just like public safety. Now, there were some other personal reasons behind Makima's actions, not wanting to be alone and even desiring a familial connection. But Makima was even willing to become a sacrifice in this process and took great privilege in the idea of being devoured by Chainsaw Man. She had a decent idea of what Chainsaw Man's devil erasure abilities could do. There was no questions behind his power, no research or experiments that needed to be done. She would just keep Denji by her side, use him as her pet, and that's how she would control his chaos. But public safety copied that playbook, added in some extra doses of grade A suffering, and let their agents cook. Everything they've done to steal away and rip away Denji's loved ones and his humanity has all been in the same pursuit of trying to harness that chaos, to make him become this entity of malice, darkness, and destruction, use him as a lab rat to test the extent of his abilities and learn how to tiptoe around it. And that's a Mr. Beast, I'm gonna break the Geneva Convention for the sake of content type evil, and by golly, the fact that they were actually succeeding is kind of mind-blowing. And the rationale behind these extreme actions is for the purpose of human evolution, because public safety intends to erase these concepts that could oppose their ideal of a utopian civilization. So that pretty much means that anything harmful to them, like substances, weapons, nations, and more, they want to eradicate them from existence to achieve some sort of united peace. Now, taking this at face value, it almost seems reasonable. You know, not the whole wiping out countries and nations things, which is just basically committing war crimes for that type of future. But the idea to eradicate all these bad things for the sake of the greater good, I get it. And it's because I get it that it makes it that much more terrifying. There's a lot of sadness and destruction that's carved out by certain things that you can't control. For example, the Gun Devil was like this god-level threat that destroyed countries and innocent lives. It was terrible. There's anarchy and diseases that, you know, killed Denji's own mother, depriving him of a maternal figure in his life, which you could argue was the domino that tipped over, leading to what he is today. From public safety's perspective, there's a lot of tragedy in this world, so if you try to literally remove the roots of the problems, it can lead to the betterment of humanity. But the main issue with this line of thinking is that it's way too idealistic, and by trying to solve one problem this way, the repercussions will create an entirely new slew of problems that will just follow after. You can't put a band-aid on a broken bone and expect it to heal. It just doesn't work that way. But public safety is clearly disregarding that aspect, as one of the concepts that they're trying to control-alt-delete is aging. According to Fumiko and her Rachel degree of betraying activities, public safety has made certain arrangements with the aging devil. Yes, contrary to what I thought before in my previous video, video. This isn't the mirror devil, but you can't really blame me for coming to that conclusion. I mean, the writing was literally on the wall. But the aging devil allegedly doesn't have any attachments to their life, so they're down for the chomp, and I'm pretty sure there's some irony mixed in there, but I digress. So depending on the terms and conditions of the contract that this devil made with public safety, it's willing to be eaten and erased by the chainsaw devil. Now, before we get into the terms that they agreed upon, I think it's prudent that we discuss why they would want to erase this concept in the first place. By erasing the concept of age, one of the major factors of death that all living things experience is just gone. So this will not only drastically decrease the power of the death devil, but with a major fear gone, it's also possible that people can believe that they're immortal and live forever. Now, there's no answer if they would still experience some sort of mental and physical decline. That's still very much up in the air. After all, even though the concepts of ears was momentarily erased for a couple of minutes, cell phones, radios, and other hearing-related devices were still around. The chainsaw erasure process is messy. Things don't get automatically cleaned up, and yet, even understanding the potential issues that could arise, public safety is still insistent on moving forward, and the cost they have to pay in exchange for the aging devil to be devoured without resistance is this: the death of 10,000 children of Japanese citizenship between infancy and 9 years old, and it has to be carried out in front of mirrors. Like, what the actual fuck is going on? And Fumiko, how are you saying this with a smile on your face? This isn't just twisted, it's downright demonic. It's probably the worst thing that I've ever witnessed in Chainsaw Man. And because they have a limited time frame to use Denji in the state, they have to act and sign off on this atrocity as soon as possible. There's barely a single moment's hesitation from these government officials. They're ready and willing to do what's necessary, because it's either the greater good or it's nothing, it's death. From their distorted perspective, it's just a small sacrifice to save as many lives as they can. They don't want to do it, but with their back against the walls, they will do it. It's crazy how they all fall in line so easily. It's insane that they're treating human lives like they're props, and it's disgustingly tragic that Denji is at the heart of this. But here's the problem when you open up Pandora's box. You start with the intention that it will be the solution to solve all your problems. So reality hits them pretty hard in a really cathartic way. When Fumiko's about to make the call to sign off on this objectively terrible order, she realizes that she can't speak because her mouth is gone. And it's not just her, but everyone. No one can communicate, eat, or do the stuff that Kobeni does on her free time. Wink wink, nudge nudge. The concepts of mouths are gone because Pachita just erased it. I mean, talk about a reverse Uno among reverse Unos. Public safety pretty much just shot themselves on the foot, and they weren't even holding the gun or pressing the trigger. But what's truly terrifying is that the mouth devil isn't the only casualty, as it's revealed on the final page of the chapter that the octopus devil, the snow devil, and the bitterness devil were also erased. They said Chainsaw Man was messy, and by golly, they did not realize how right they actually were. Public safety tries to control chaos, but you can't control chaos because it's inherently chaotic. It's an oxymoron. And this is the result of their actions. They opened up Pandora's box, and now they gotta live with the consequences. I'm honestly even more lost as to what's going to happen now. It just seems like when things get worse, Fujimoto always finds a way to make it even more awful. So let me know your guesses and concerns moving forward in Chainsaw Man. What do you think will happen? And will this devilish disaster find solace in the Mr. Clean Devil? Let me know in the comments. Until then, like and subscribe, hit that noti bell so you can stay up to date with my content. And until then, I'll catch you guys in the next video.